Now we know what buy, sell, a order, which is an instruction, a bid, which is the buyer telling you I'm not going any higher than this price. And an ask is what the seller is saying, I'm not selling this for any lower than this price. All right, cool. Now, let's put them together. So, when you have a bid, that's the buyer saying, hey, and I'm just plugging in numbers again. That's the buyer saying, hey, I'll give you $9.99 for a share, per share in TJP. And TJP, or I'm sorry, the seller says, nope, I won't let it go for no less than $10.01. So between that difference between $10.01 of what the seller is asking for and $9.99 of what the buyer is willing to pay for it, that 2 cents difference is called a spread. All right, so a spread is the asking offer, so the seller's offer, whatever they're asking, minus the buyer's offer, the bid. So an ask minus the bid is the spread. That difference is the spread. Okay? All right, cool. Now, why should we, as a buyer or a buyer or a seller, care about the spread, right? Okay, because if you multiply tiny amounts by a lot of shares, it could cost a lot. It could start costing you as the buyer or the seller a lot, right? So let's say your spread is 5 cents a share, right? But you bought 1,000 shares. It may seem, that 5 cents may seem small, but that 5 cents towards every share, and you ordered 1,000 shares, that's $50 that you have to add to that order when you were just wanting to pay whatever you thought before that spread came in. All right, so the spread is the ask, which is coming from the seller, minus the bid, which is coming from the buyer. That difference is called the spread. It may sound like it's not so much when it's like, oh, 2 pennies and I only had 10 shares, but it starts adding up if it's like 50 cents and I ordered 1,000 shares. All right, that starts adding up. So now we're going to rewind back to order. Remember that I said the definition of an order is instructions. You're not just going to go into a brokerage account, deposit your money, say, hey, I want to buy these shares, press buy or sell. That's the order, and now you own the shares. That's not how it happens. You are giving your broker or that brokerage account or instructions on what to do with your deposit. Capiche? All right, so there are 2 types of orders that we're going to learn about. We're going to learn about, well, I'm not going to say both of them because I don't want to confuse y'all, but first we're going to learn about a market order. All right, okay, so a market order prioritizes speed over the actual price. So imagine me, okay, my company is TJP. Imagine me going into Tony J's pizza and I say, hey, I don't care what the price is, I want a pizza right now. That's a market order because I don't care what the price is, I just want you to give it to me now. So that's the same as in the stock market as a market order. You're prioritizing speed over guaranteeing the exact price. So you're essentially saying, hey broker, buy or sell this at the best available price you can access it right now. The best price you can get it, but I want it right now. All right. But here's an important part. A market order does not guarantee your exact execution price. Because remember, the stock market is moving incredibly fast. So available shares at one price can disappear because remember, everybody is going in, buying and selling around the same times, right? So you got to be quick with it. So you might expect something that says, because TJP shows you on the screen $10.01, but you actually receive all or some of your orders, because remember, you do it by, hey, I want 10,000 shares, or I want 1,000 shares, I want 10 shares. You might actually receive some of them or all of your shares at a different price because it's moving fast. And that brings us to fill. I'm going to go back to the second type of order, but I'm going to talk about fill first. So remember, a market order, your main focus is, I want it now. How fast can you do it? Not what price. It is the best available price that you can get at that point in time, but I want it right now. I'd rather you do it right now than me really worrying about how much it costs. That's a market order. So now we're going to move to fill. Okay? A fill means your order was actually executed. So back when I said you can't go into your brokerage account and make a deposit and say, hey, I want 10,000 shares at $10 a share, and I press buy or I press sell, and now I have those shares, or I just sold those shares. That was your order. That was an order that you gave the broker instructions to do that. Once the broker goes in and fills that order, that means that it's actually executed at that time. So you asked, for example, I want you to buy, you're telling the broker, I want you to buy 10 shares. The market matches your order. Then once your broker goes in and does what they need to do to fill that order, it says filled. 10 shares at $10.02. Congratulations. That lets you know that your order is filled. So filled means the order was executed, meaning you now own those shares or you now sold those shares. Transaction complete. Okay? So the order is the instructions, but when you fill the order, that's the execution. That means the transaction is complete. Remember that. All right, moving along. Now, we're going to go back to the second type of order. So we talked about a marketplace order, which is, I want to be guaranteed speed over the price. I want you to do it now. So you can guess what a limit order is. A limit order is, I want to guarantee it at this price or price range, but I don't really care about the speed, because if you can't find me this price or this price range, don't fill the order. I have boundaries on this price. That's what a limit order is. Hint, limit. I'm limiting what I'm willing to put as the buying price or the selling price. I don't care about the speed. I don't even care if the order gets filled. All right? So, for example, suppose you tell the broker, I want shares in TJP, but I refuse to pay more than $10. To pay more than $10 a share. Okay? A limit order is controlling the price. So you put a limit buy, that's your order, a limit buy at $10. Okay? And you're basically telling your broker, buy this at $10 or lower. I don't want you to pay more than $10. If you cannot find it for me at $10 or lower, I don't want to make the trade. I don't want to make the transaction. I'm okay with not making it.